Imagine you're in the audience at your own funeral and somebody's doing the eulogy. What do you want people to know about you specifically? Forget the voters, forget the supporters, forget social media. What do you want your friends and family to say about you and to know about you?
This is a very interesting question. I've never thought about this. I've never been asked this. So give me like 3 seconds to actually think about it.
Sure.
Normally I can blot off an answer about anything because I'm talking about facts and reality. But this is kind of an introspective question, and I don't want to shortchange you on this. So if the viewers don't mind, I'd like to think about it.
Yeah.
I guess what I want them to my family, my friends, and everybody to know is that every decision I've made, everything I've said, every action I've taken was done in what I believe to be in the best interest of the people and the country and the world in general.
Okay. I want to tell you something. So I don't know if you've heard of an organization called Veterans for Freedom, and I'm one of their co-founders. Yeah. Drew McGilvery is really the leader of Veterans for Freedom. He started it. Him, me, 3 other veterans started Veterans for Freedom. You were the first person to wake up Drew McGilvery to make him scratch his head and say, that guy's interesting to me. I really like what he said. You were the one who started making him question all of the COVID narrative. Him and I both agree. You've been a controversial person for one reason or another, and I don't believe half the crap I hear in terms of controversy. But I want to say you've been a pioneer from day one of this COVID stuff. You really have. So what you said about how you would want people to believe that you did it for the sake of your friends, your family, the Canadians, the country, I buy that because your actions support exactly that statement. But here's the burning question I really got to ask you. This is the one. How in the hell, with such accuracy over and over and over, have you been able to predict, we're talking months, almost a year in advance, of what the government was going to do to the public? How have you been able to have that level of clarity and predict what was on the horizon for us? I don't understand it, but it is one of the things that people talk about. It's like, he's always right. He predicts things that always come true. How the hell do you do this?
You want the real answer or the answer I'm supposed to tell everybody?
I want the real answer.
Obviously, I'm a time traveler. No, to be completely honest, when you know the end game, and we already know the end game is a world government, a world currency, a digital world currency with a digital ID, a 15-minute city gulags virtually all over the world that are virtually identical to each other, so you have no reason to want to go to the next one. When you know the end game, and someone like me, my IQ and my thought process and the way my mind is, my strength is deductive reasoning. So I can see things and I can analyze things in a way that most people can't. So when I analyze these things, it just becomes clear to me of exactly what they're going to do and when they're going to do it. They tell you, they really do. They have to use things like predictive programming to get the masses ready to accept the next phase of their agenda. So if you just listen to them, they literally tell you what they're going to do. The problem is I listen to them. I literally explain word for word what they literally just said, but then they'll come out and say, oh, no, don't listen to them. It's not what it really means. And the vast majority of people would go back to sleep. But now we're at the point where I believe the world, Ontario, and most importantly, Toronto are ready for me and ready for this, because we are at the point where we have reached the peak distrust of the government, the media, and the medical establishment. And they have never lost so much control over the hearts and minds of the people. And I happen to have a lot of support of the hearts and minds of the people. So much so, I don't think people really grasp how much people really respond to us. I can't even drive from here to my office, which is like 10 minutes away, without someone rolling down the window and saying, I'm voting for you. I can't go to a restaurant without a woman walking in and crying when she meets me. I can't go fill up my car at the gas station without getting people asking for pictures.
I walked down Wellington with you during the convoy, And it was like walking down the street with Mick Jagger. Like I couldn't get 3 words in, and then somebody was coming up and interrupting, taking photos.
But that was the convoy. That was the convoy. So it kind of makes sense because those are people from the freedom movement. Just take me to I was downtown when the Leafs were playing, and I was at an event where I had been contracted to go to, and I just went outside to smoke a little joint, and sure enough, I got mauled by dozens and dozens of people just standing on the street corner within a few minutes. And that's the response I get virtually everywhere I go. Just like you saw in the parking lot when hundreds and hundreds of young people were swarming the car and swarming the vehicle. That happens everywhere we go. I can go to a gym, I can go to a bar, I can go to a restaurant, and we get that kind of response. So the reality is literally millions and millions and millions of people know who we are and my team is around the world. The amount of support we have is far more astronomical than any of these other candidates. It is ridiculous. Olivia Chow just had her grand opening. Her office is about a 10-minute drive from my office. And by the way, out of 100 candidates, there's 5 that have an office, including me. 5. And other candidates say, oh, we don't need enough. No, you just couldn't afford one, and because you don't have the backing, and you couldn't raise the money because you don't have a grassroots movement like we do. We don't have a backing like Olivia Chow of the NDP and of Communist China. We have to get all our resources from a grassroots movement of working class, middle class people. The people that are at the very top of this pyramid do not like me. So the rich people do not fund me. The rich people do not support me. It is the working class people, the people that want to be homeowners, that want to drive a car, the people that want to have a future. These are the people that support me, the people that see me as a ray of hope for the life that they once could have had and now see fading away. And that's exactly what I am. I am the person that can bring that back.
Let me ask you a personal question, because it is something that I have experienced. I mean, I'm nowhere near well known as you. I have a very small amount of notoriety, and that's all because of, I was fortunate enough to participate in the convoy. But my experience has been, I go to an event that involves the convoy or a freedom rally of some kind. And the experience that I have had is that I meet people who know who I am, and they immediately present the very best version of themselves. And then immediately after that, I start to hear about the carnage that they have experienced in their own lives, their family lives. And so I get, in a very short amount of time, this burst of the best version and also the worst experiences that they've had in their lives over the last 3 years. And it is incredibly heavy on my heart to listen to the carnage. How do you, because I would imagine that it is on orders of magnitude higher for you and what you experienced than what I experienced, but how do you process and deal with the heaviness of the things that people are sharing with you in their lives? How do you deal with that?
Well, a lot of times it's really inspiring because people will tell me their hardships and then tell me how I helped them get through it. And that's the most inspiring thing, and it feels so good. But people have told me I've saved their lives, I've saved their marriage, I've saved their children, I've saved this. They're the reason I didn't get a shot. You're the reason I didn't wear a mask. You're the reason I stood up. And I hear that literally everywhere, and that's super inspiring. But at the same time, I also see the victims of COVID. And like the little girl was the reason that I ran for mayor, because I met her the day before John Tory actually resigned in the hospital at 59 pounds, not even able to eat solid food. And she was a perfectly normal, healthy, professional little girl. And she had all these problems just because of what the government did. It had nothing to do with COVID, it had nothing to do with her family. It was everything to do with the government. And just seeing her sitting like that and her telling me, saying, my daddy says you're going to run for mayor and help people like me. Is that true? Like, that's overwhelming. Yeah. Usually I can't even talk about it without I'll cry. But that's what inspires me. That's what keeps me moving forward. And that's what I'm fighting for.